I have had more requests than I could tell you on how to paint on Procreate so that the painting looks like a painting, and using oil paints. And of course it's all digital, there are no actual paints. So today I want to show you how I painted this painting, and you can see it's imperfect, and I would consider it probably not done if I was really using this for a portrait. I think a real portrait and traditional art with paint, and whether it's oil paint or acrylic, would probably take me, because I've done some. I'm going to show you one I did of, I've done so many of them, but I've done one of Robin, and most of the paintings I've done have left and gone somewhere else, but I do have one of Robin that I did, so I want to show you that one, and I'll show you that in the video that's coming up. But that's traditional paint, and in today's world, we have this thing called digital. In this case, it's the iPad. I'm using the Procreate app, and what I wanted to say that I distracted myself. A traditional painting, easily I could put 14, maybe even 20 hours into it. Yeah, there's a lot of time. Whoops, it's going away. A lot of time. The techniques, however, are not that different. When you watch the video, it's a 50-minute video, and in 50 minutes I was able to paint this young lady from a photograph without tracing it, although I will tell you that there's nothing wrong with tracing an image before you paint it. I honestly don't think there's a problem with that, especially if you're working for a company or an advertising agency, and they want a celebrity or somebody who's recognizable. You want to make sure you get everything correct. Use the opportunity to challenge yourself to not use this tracing method, because when you rely on tracing, it hurts your skills, I think, as an artist. However, you're trying to earn a living. I know I'm talking to two different groups on my channel. I know I have older folks like myself, mature folks like myself, and I have younger people also who want to earn a living. And I have no idea what effect AI is going to do to you guys coming up. I don't know. But anyway, so I don't have all the answers to everything, but I will show you how I painted this picture today. And to keep it painterly, to keep it looking like an actual oil painting. And hopefully I've done enough commentary in this upcoming video that you will be able to hear. Whoops, she keeps going away. Story of my life. The girls keep going away. It was funny. So yes, I will show you how I did this. I'll show you the reference photo that I used, and no more talking needed. Let me get to the video and show you how I did this, okay? Thanks for watching. Okay, so I want to show you how I create oil painting on Procreate. So the image on the left is my reference photo of a young girl, and the image on the right is the blank canvas. So I want to show you how I do this. So first I'm going to get an oil painting brush. So I'm going right here to oil paint. And then what I want to do is I want to change the background color to look dark. In this case, I'm going to try to duplicate that. It doesn't have to be exact. Maybe a little bit on the blue side. Doesn't have to be exact, but that looks about right. Okay, it's important because there's a lot of things that make this photograph. Now the photograph has done 90% of the work because the photographer has done a great job photographing a portrait. You can take a snapshot of a friend. Let me show you one I did of Robin. There it is on the B-roll there. That's an actual oil painting I did of Robin on an actual canvas. So it's not digital. but it was not a great photograph. It was a snapshot I took. I don't have the snapshot, so I can't show you that, but trust me. So I use my art skills, and I guess this is something you just develop, and then you create more shadows. But for the sake of this one, let me get back here. For the sake of this one, I wanted to do it quickly to show you how I would do this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get some of these light areas. So I'm just going to grab that. You can put your finger on it, you see, and it gets a circle. And the top part of the circle is the color of the paint. So let's make the brush a little bit large, because we just want to get large shapes now. And there's the forehead that I just grabbed the color of. So I just scrub it in there and get that right there. Okay, let's get her cheek right here, and let's go down here. We don't have to be exact, we just have to get kind of the look we're looking for. Grab the middle of her nose, and that sounds funny, right? Grab the middle of her nose and put that in there. And a lot of this is not exactly what we want, but it's the general idea of what we want. Okay, and then her neck, just keep grabbing the colors off of the photograph itself. If you're using actual paint, obviously you have to be working with your skills again, what you understand about. Now let's grab her hair. Well, let's go to her shoulder first, because her shoulder is this big old area on the bottom. So let's grab that shoulder and bring it up just as it does in the photograph. And we'll go here. Their cheek is here, and everything. This is the beauty of doing the digital, is you can correct everything. Okay, so we want to try to get it as close to what we see in the photograph as possible. And if you were again, if you were painting on an actual canvas, you would want to sketch it first. You might want to even sketch it first on here. So now I'm getting into some of these darker colors. So I got some of these lights, and just grab some of her hair color, bring it around here. Looks like it goes up there, it comes around this side of her face, goes all the way to this side of the picture. Okay, then over here, and right now it looks just like a mess, right? And don't worry, we're going to make it look pretty good when we're done. My challenge here is to keep my hand out of the way so that you can see it. So now I'm doing the dark side of her shadows on her face and her arm. Let's get her nose in there. She's got some dark around her eyes right here. So right now we can go ahead and do that. And this light blue here is pretty important too. I love that light blue. Let's make it lighter. Let's make it lighter. And we're going to fix all that as we get to it later on. And then this side of her shoulder comes up over here. And go ahead and make the brush a little bit bigger so we can scrub it in real quickly. So you could argue now that it is like a very impressionistic picture, very impressionistic. But we don't want that. We want a good portrait. So we're going to make as good a portrait of this young lady as we can. Just grab it. And you notice I am using shapes. I'm using the shape of her nose, the shape of her eyes, the shape of everything. I'm not really worrying about getting the likeness at this point. Just trying my best to put everything where it looks like it is, and the color choices don't have to be exactly as they are in the photograph. I would it's a good idea sometimes to experiment with colors and to see what you like. But you can see now the girl is starting to look a little bit, very little bit, like the photograph. And then we make the brush smaller for some of these things. We're going to come back to everything. Everything is going to be changed. But I just wanted to get the rough idea of what she looks like. Just grabbing the colors off of the photograph and putting everything there. All right, now let's take the reference photo and let's enlarge it. So I squeeze it and bring it larger. And I'm going to take this side and try to make it the same size. So the reason I did that is because I want to place her eyes and nose and everything in the right place. So if you go straight over from there, she's got an eye right there, and it's right close to the side of her head. Okay, and then over there, this one, it goes up on an angle, so make sure you keep them symmetrical, unless you want to do a Picasso. And then her eyebrows. Eyebrows are important. So straight over from there. Now again, if you were doing an actual painting from an actual sitting, let's say your model is sitting in front of you, you do the same thing. You hold the painting up against the subject, and from that way you can see. What I like about the digital oil is that it looks like oil. It looks like I'm actually putting oil down on a paper, on a canvas. Now I would not use, let's get the bottom of her nose. I would not use again, let's go straight from here to here. I would not use like a background that looks like canvas unless you never intend to actually print it on canvas, because it's better to print it on canvas. Now if it's only going to be a digital picture, then yes, you can take that a template. You can like photograph a blank canvas, and let's do the same thing with her mouth, and then put that as a second layer, and then put it over it. I'll show you that, not today, I don't think, though. Okay, so now her mouth is right there. Pull it over. Okay. Put that line between her two lips. Just make a dark line. If I can't get it, I'll darken. Sometimes you can't grab it when it's very minute like that. Let's put a small. It's got a little bit of a curve going down there. You got to scrub it a little bit with oil. With some of the other brushes, you don't have to scrub it as much, but I think the oil helps. The fact that you have to scrub it helps make it look like real oil. All right, now we're not even close to her looking right, but that's okay. We're just getting everything in place, and then the fine-tuning happens. All right, let's make that darker. We can always fix that later on. And then let's go lighter here. That looks like if I'm going to try to analyze the head, make sure I got it right. There's the top, and there's the bottom right there. So that bottom needs to be a little bit lower. And go up the curve here, the side of her face. And then the side of her face over here that disappears into the shadow under her chin. And then let's get some of this light color here at the bottom of her chin. And let's go ahead and add some darkness to her lips. And I really wanted to do this in real time to show you exactly how I would do it. So without me narrating every single little thing I'm doing, hopefully you can follow by watching. Please ask questions if you have any. A lot of this is simply learning to draw. Now, you could absolutely sketch this out first. You don't have to do it like in the block format that I'm doing it. But I kind of wanted to show you how I do these things. 90% of the time when I'm doing artwork for like a book or something, the the client, the author, they do not want a picture that looks like somebody. They don't. They just want like a generic person. So capturing a likeness is not important. However, like that picture I just showed you of Robin, capturing a likeness was very important to me because it was a picture I was doing for my own wall. And then later on, when we became a couple, I guess I can tell you that, then I moved in, and we lived together, and it's on our wall. Used to be on my wall. All right, now here we go, trying to get some of these lights. I love that blue in her hair over there, by the way. Some of these in-between colors. The idea here is to get everything looking like it's in the right place. All right, now let's take a better look at her eyes. So I'm just gonna try to focus on her eyes. All right, so I'm gonna make this color basically black. Put a smaller line there. Let's try to draw her eye now. Let's see. Try to make it about that size. And up here we have her eyebrow. Again, everything can be fixed. And her eye, the lid of her eye, first of all, comes down around. The eyelash line goes like that. And then this part goes down here and over. Here's the side of her nose. Let's make sure we kind of understand where everything is. Just making sure everything is there. Can be a little sketchy. Get that eye in there. That eyeball. Okay. It's kind of right. It's kind of right. Not sure if it's completely right. Now let's go over here. If you look at the distance between that eye and that eye, it's kind of right there. And using the nose as a guide, we'll do that. Let's see how the nose looks for the lips. That goes right under that nostril. Now it goes right under that nostril. It should go down here. All right. Okay, you're following all of this, right? Let's take her eye again from there to there. And bring it up around here. And see that hair. Now let's make sure I got this right. Looks like that hair comes down right there. So I got that part wrong earlier. Let's fix it. The hair comes right around here. And it's got a blueness to it, so it's okay to add some of that blue to it. Okay. Now let's get back to her eye. Now this is all on one layer so far. So let me go back to a black. Now if you're actually using real paint, I don't think I would use black. I would probably darken whatever color you were using for her skin tone. Just a little bit more dark here under her nose and over here, and put some lightness here on this. I think it's called a fulcrum or whatever it's called on your upper lip. There we go. Now let's get some darker colors. Get some black for this part of her. Let's see, there's her eyebrow. Again, her hair is probably closer to here. Let me go back to that blue. That dark blue right there. It comes right across her eye. It touches her eye, actually. So we're going to make sure we get that looking right. Now let's go back to that black and make it smaller. And try to get that eye in place there. Make sure it's lined up with the other eye. Okay. The reference photo, by the way, is from Unsplash. And the true artist here is the photographer. I think it's just for the demonstration purposes here. I appreciate the fact that they allow us to do this without having to worry about offending some copyright. But I will. Let me see if I can tell you who the artist is. I mean the photographer. The photographer is C+, SEEPLUS. C+. That's where I got it from. From that photographer. Okay, now you can see, sort of see, the portrait coming to life. You can tell it, right? We're a long ways away. But what do we see that's wrong? I'm not sure yet. But we're going to keep working on it and see where this takes us. So let's go to that eye. Let's see if we can make that eye look like that eye. So make it very big, and I'm going to take some liberties here and use this like green, emerald green almost. I'm going to put that in her eye. Now this is where I am kind of taking some liberties because her eye in the photograph is not as dark as it looks here. And keep that pupil there, make the dark pupil. Okay, get this eye here, make it bigger. Let's take some dark blue for her eye. The whites of her eyes are not white, they're kind of like a dark blue. Okay, make them darker as we get closer to the edge where there's a shadow. We can go ahead and get some, maybe some almost like pink right here around her eye. It's a little too dark, too light. Let's get it darker. Okay. Let's put some light on the eyelid right there. Get it a little bit lit. Get this a little bit bigger. Alright. Let's go ahead and get some, let's take this color and make it darker. Pull it around here. We want this to be a painterly portrait, by the way. We want it to look like a painting. That's the whole point here, is to make a painterly portrait of this young lady. Get that dark spot, the dark area around her eye. Let's go ahead and make that a little bit lighter right there inside of her eye. And pull that right there. And go ahead and get that. Let's see. I'm going to make a little bit of a distinction here. Okay, let's take that green and darken it and desaturate it. So go to the left and down, and there we go. A little bit of a shadow there. Now this area right here, that little bit of light skin wraps around her eye. And comes around the bottom. You see? See how that looks right there? And if we take the dark, try to get that a little bit. Kind of, it's almost like drawing it in. Use the pencil, the Apple Pencil that I'm using has the ability to behave like a pencil, so which is really cool. So let's make that eye a little bit bigger. And you got that pupil a little bit more to the side. All right, now we have this coming up here. Let's get that looking brown over here. Let's go ahead and put that reflection in her eye. Looks like it's right there. Works perfectly where it is. No sense in moving it. Get some reflection here on her eyelid. A little bit more down here. If you notice, she's got a little bit of moisture reflecting from her eye right there. So go ahead and do that. And some wet areas on this corner of her eye. And now if we take that green, and we're going to lighten it a little bit to give the sense of an iridescentness to her iris. It's just like the sun is coming around and catching her eye right there. Her eyebrow is not perfect yet. Let's try to make it better. She's got about that much space between her eyebrow and her eye. And again, if you're doing an illustration for like an editorial piece, there's hardly any newspapers anymore that ask me to do anything, but once in a while somebody from an internet publication will ask me. And so it's the same thing as doing it for a newspaper, except some of the, like the CMYK and then RGB, I don't mean to throw too many confusing things your way, but that's usually the only thing that each one has their own requirements. Some of them want JPEGs, some of them want PNGs. You get the idea. They're all different. And the beautiful thing about Procreate is you can format them anyway, pretty much. I don't think there's any way that they don't have covered on this program. All right, so now you see her eye, and it's definitely looking like an eye. Now, does it look like her? I don't know yet. I don't think so. I think her eye is a little bit more closed than that. So what I can do with that is I can take this and circle the whole thing, and then I'm going to distort it a little bit. Maybe I'll warp it a little bit. I'll pull it down. Just tweaking it a little bit. Nope, I didn't get it. So I just have to kind of go back and rework it. Let's try to get it right. I want to get her likeness as close as I can. Let's go ahead and get this dark brown here. Around her nose. That's not too bad. This smudging tool here, what you do is you want to line it up with oil paint, make sure it's the same brush, and you can smudge some of these areas that you created that I created when I did that. All right, now I'm not sure I like it yet, but it's a beginning. And again, as I was mentioning earlier, if you are doing this for an editorial piece, they probably don't want you to have a likeness unless you're doing an elected official or a candidate or celebrity of some sort. Then you have to really make sure. And you know, in that case, you can always trace the the initial sketch. That would be my recommendation. If you're doing a celebrity, somebody who has to, and plus if you're on a deadline, and you know, you have to get it to them in like today or yesterday. I need it yesterday. Well, there's no harm in sketching it, or tracing it, I mean, as a sketch. Your first sketch can be a trace, yes, absolutely. Don't think that's cheating. Hey, you got a job to do. Trust me, you got a deadline, you got a job to do. Yeah, don't let the art purists make you think you're doing something that's considered cheating. Now, for your own satisfaction, you might want to, you know, work from scratch and just develop all the skills that the classical artists always have had. And it is, I understand it. It's of course a sense of pride and a sense of understanding how things work. And yes, you can do that digitally as well as with traditional paint. I'm just kind of all over the map here, going around, just trying to get her nose to look right. I think I need her nose to look right in order to get her eye in the right place. Just a couple strokes here. Get some of this over here. Some of these darker tones that are not totally dark. There we go. All right, let's get that eye now. Let's make that eye look like this other eye. So again, I'm going to enlarge it, bring it up to it, sketch the shape of it. Go ahead and get that eyeball kind of in there. Let's go ahead and grab that same green that we started with over here, and we'll do the same thing. It's an exaggeration of the green in the photograph. And there we go. And let's get this darker blue here for her eye. The whites of her eyes are not white at all. They're very dark, especially on this side of her face where the shadows are. All right. I love her eyes. Her eyes are really pretty. All right. All right, now let's take that green and lighten it. Not as light as the other side, because the other side is closer to the light source. Just want to make it a little bit lighter. And again, let's get that reflection in there. I do think that the features on the face is so important to make sure that they are accurate as far as trying to capture likeness. All right, now let's see if I like the way that looks. Not completely. I feel like her eyes are too small, maybe. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make them bigger. I'm going to take, almost like I'm drawing eyeglasses around her, So it's all going to be enlarged at the same time. Keep it uniform. Make that a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to take this other eye. I'm going to move it over. Maybe make it a little bit bigger too. Here we go. That looks pretty good. All right, now you see what I did. I created all these little spaces. So you take the smudging tool, you push the paint around so that it covers in those gaps, and we're going to work that. Don't worry. We're going to work all of it. But if you do that kind of a thing, you have to make sure you cover in the gaps. Now, what am I trying to show you here? Oh, look at that big gap right there. Whoa, that's a big gap. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the idea here is not to recreate a photograph, but rather to create an oil painting. That's the whole point here. We're almost actually there. I mean, you can see it already, but I'm not happy with it yet, of course. So now let's take our reference photo and see if we can make it about the same size. So what I want to do now is take some of these blues in her hair and paint them in, because these blues show where the light is hitting. She's got some blue light hitting her hair, creating her hair to look blue and actually pretty beautiful. It's a very beautiful photograph. Let's go ahead and get some of this color from where the light's hitting her side of her face here. Go ahead and pull that down here. Get onto her lips. Let's get some of that reflection in her lips. Some of the darker colors here around her side here. Okay. I've been wanting to show you guys how I use Procreate. I use Procreate a lot. I don't show you much on the Poppa Paints channel because I think most of you want to do traditional painting. Most of you have expressed an interest in basically just painting. And I love just painting. You know, what I do with Procreate is usually, because I'm retired actually, but I use it as a, supplement. That's the word I'm looking for. My income. I supplement my income. And get an assignment here and there, and it helps put food on the table, and the whole drill. You know how it works. All right, so if I was working at a theme park, for example, which I've done too, doing sketches, and I was using my iPad, I don't know that they do this, but I bet you they do. I've often thought that since this technology came into play, that I bet you they have allowed artists to sit there with their iPad and sketch people. It's kind of cool. Or you could actually, you could ask somebody, instead of waiting in your line, because they got to wait in enough lines as it is. So they go to the theme park. They spend a couple $100s at these theme parks, and then they're standing in line all day. There's always this. I don't know. I don't think maybe if I was younger, I would do it. It just seems like such a long time to wait in a line. 2 hours, let's say, for a ride that takes 10 minutes. It just seems like, and you're spending a couple $100s to be in that park. I don't know that I get all that. But if you're doing this as a job, sketching, and you want to save the person's time and let them go around. You could take their photograph, and then you could use their photograph as a reference. And again, you could trace it. And if you're doing a caricature where you're exaggerating the features of the face, maybe big teeth, big nose, whatever. I know people like that kind of stuff. I never was a fan of that stuff, by the way. But that's me. Some people love it. And so, that could be a gig for you. I have two audiences on this Poppa Paints channel. I have people who are old like myself, or mature, I'll say that. I know you ladies don't like that word, old. But I also have some young viewers, and I think it's the young ones who are asking me about the Procreate. I don't know how they know that I do Procreate, unless maybe they heard an interview, because I've done a few interviews. So it's possible that it came from an interview. All right, do you see what I've done here now? I've almost created an oil painting just in this short time. It's been just about 37 minutes according to my counter on my phone. This down here could be a little bit tweaked. Get some light over here on her shoulder. Put some light on her face here. Get her nose. Let me get her nose a little bit better than that. I'm going to enlarge the reference. Oh, she's got a ring in her nose. Oh, I didn't notice that. All right. Well, good thing I enlarged it. I didn't even notice the ring in her nose. Okay. Why do they put rings in their nose nowadays? Why is that? All right. Wow, I didn't see that ring. All right, let's get this bright spot right here. Super bright right there. A reflection in her nose right there. A little bit of paint. Okay, let's get some of this color in here. Gotta get that ring in their nose. Young lady, why did you put a ring in your nose? What's wrong? Why did you do that? All right, I'm gonna put it there. It's not much to it, it's just a little bit of reflection here. Just that piece of metal sticking out from inside your face. What is that about? Oh well, there it is. There it is, kids. All right, now let's get her hair. And the hair is beautiful. I love that blue hair. So I'm just going to get a light blue color and just put some streaks here. She got some dark. Oh, that curl goes around like that, doesn't it? Goes like that. Oh yeah. See, when you do it, you can kind of go back and say, well, what did I get wrong? That's the beauty of this. Now, so far, if you've noticed, I've only used one layer. I haven't used more than one layer. So, for what it's worth, you can use more than one layer. You don't have to not use a second layer or third layer. And by the way, the settings on this is 300 dpi. So that's a high resolution. You can go higher than that. But the higher you go, the fewer layers you're going to have access to. All right, now the only thing I'm not happy with now is it just looks like the paint on her shoulder is just a mess. So let me clean that up. Looks like it's darker at the bottom. bigger brush. Maybe a little bit more red in there. And again, if you were using actual paint, if you were doing a traditional portrait here, you would be mixing these colors on your palette. One of the cool things about digital is that you can kind of do it on the fly, just improvise and then experiment. Make that brush really big. Let's just get some of those darks in there. There we go. And with the cool thing, I don't know if you can tell, but the color of the paint is pushing the other paint, so it's like wet on wet. You got that wet on wet look. All right, now I'm going to close the reference photo out, and I'm just going to keep her there. Now here's a little trick I do. Here's a little trick. I'm going to take this layer, which is her. I'm going to duplicate it. Come on, duplicate it. Come on. Now I don't know if you can tell, but when it duplicated it, it made it a little bit richer. So I'm going to merge those two together. Now I'm going to duplicate it again. Now this time I'm going to close the bottom one, and I'm going to take the top one and I'm going to create an alpha lock on it so that I only can paint it. I'm going to sample the background color, and now I'm going to paint over her. Now this is kind of a little technique that I made up myself, and I'm going to show you why I made up this technique. So I'm painting everything to look exactly the same as the background color. Okay, there we go. Just make it completely gone, but it's not. Remember, I made two layers. So now I have this layer is her. Let's put it on top so you can see her. There she is again, and then the bottom layer. So let's turn it off and then turn off the background. Now there's what I just did, but you see it's not completely filled in. It's got some gaps. So what I want to do is fill in those gaps. So take that layer, I'll call it the masking layer, turn off the alpha lock. Now take that same color and fill in these gaps, because otherwise when you do a background, the background is going to peek through. It's almost like a green screen, like when the weather girl wears a green dress and you can see right through it. Okay, now we got the mask. Let's turn that back on. Now she's got a mask behind her. Kind of. Okay, now we merge the two together. Now let's turn the background back on and let's do something fun. Let's take this brush, instead of oil, let's use a dry brush. And the dry brush, we're going to mess with these colors a little bit. Let's take maybe a light blue. Let's just see what happens here. And then in the background, now see, I can paint. Wait a minute, I'm making a mistake. See that? By the way, 2 fingers undoes a mistake. So I have to make a new layer. I almost painted over her. That wasn't good. Now I put a new layer under her. So now when I paint under her, see it goes under her, and you cannot see it through her. Okay, now let's take that blue and put it all over, just in the background, so she's lit from behind. That's what we want. We want that lit look from behind. Dark on this side, light on that side, and we will have our portrait done. Now, I say done. I will tell you this. Because of the fact that I'm trying to do a demonstration on YouTube, I'm taking my time. I'm rushing. I am not taking my time. I'm doing the exact opposite. Whoops. Let's get rid of that. Come on. Oh no, come on. I don't know why that gets there. I don't know what that's asking for. All right. Get rid of that. I don't want that. Okay. Sometimes I forget how to use this thing. I just want it really bright over her shoulder. Make it very bright. Isn't that cool? It isn't that very cool. So now, so what I started to say is that because I'm trying to do a demonstration for YouTube, I'm going to stop now. 47 minutes into it, and I have this much. You can fine tune your own, or you could leave it like this. It's kind of cool looking like that, I think. But I would say when you're doing this, take it and work it any way you want. But now you have a nice oil portrait. And you can take this. This is 300 dpi. I made it 21 inches by 27 inches. I know it's not physically that big, but that's the size. Let me show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's the canvas information. So the dimensions, if you can see here, 21 inches by 27 inches and 300 dpi. That's dots per inch. That means it's high resolution. 6300 pixels by 8100 pixels if you're looking at things that way. What this means is you could actually have this printed at like Walgreens or Staples or wherever, and yeah, you could have it printed on a canvas and it would look beautiful. I have done this for a number of people, and again, if you're trying to get the likeness of somebody, it is okay to trace it. But if you're doing it for a client who doesn't necessarily want a likeness, you could do it the way I just showed you. Hopefully today's video helps you understand how I take Procreate and use it to make these portraits. In today's case, I used a photograph that was already portrait-ish, but you can take a snapshot. You know, you can take you could just take it and add shadows and exaggerate colors. I exaggerated her eyes on this, so there's an example. But anyway, my point with this video is to encourage you to do art, whatever materials you want to use: paint, digital, watercolor, pencil, markers, sculpting if you want to sculpt. Just have fun, do something really creative. And young people, what's with the hook in the nose? What's with the ring in the nose? All right, I'm going to wrap it up before it hits the 50-minute mark. Oh, it just did. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.